What's going on, guys? It's Stewie, your friendly neighborhood gamer, and welcome to a theory video. And today I'm going to be talking about Zelda Wii U and where it will be placed in the timeline. And I'm not alone, actually. I'm joined by
Belak X Vibe.
Yeah. So right quick before we start, I just want to let you guys know I did a theory video with Belak X Vibe on his channel, and we were talking about Dragon Ball Z and the new movie and Vegeta and everything, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Go check that out. Go check out Belak's channel. And yeah, so we both have two different theories, two pretty different, I guess, different timeline placements that we have. My theory is kind of based off of other theory videos that I've watched, and I've taken some little aspects from each theory video and I've made my own theory that kind of made sense to me. So with everything that we know about Zelda Wii U, which isn't much, all we have is to go off of the trailers and some interviews that have been done with Enuma, and just based on what we know and the theory videos that I've watched, I'm predicting that Zelda Wii U is going to take place in the child timeline between Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess. Now, that's pretty much the consensus that I've seen with with most of the theory videos that I've watched, but the thing is, most of the people are saying that this takes place, 100 years after Majora's Mask, or 200 years, or sometime in between. Now, my theory, where it's different, is that I believe that this game actually takes place directly after Majora's Mask, and that this Link is the same Link that we grew up with as kids playing as in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Now, you guys may be saying, "What? No, how is that possible? He doesn't look like that Link. He doesn't, he's not the same and stuff." So there's different pieces of evidence that I've pieced together that kind of builds towards it. And if you guys look at Link himself, he has two different things that distinguish him as, this being a possibility. If you guys look at his shield has a pretty similar design to the Hero Shade in Twilight Princess, which, if you guys don't know, is Link not reincarnated, it's kind of like his regret manifested into a warrior. His regret of not being able to teach his techniques to anybody or whatever. So that that's not a big piece of evidence, but it is enough to say, okay, there is a connection there, because they do look really similar. And that alone is not enough, but there are other little tidbits of information that connects it to Twilight Princess and connects it to the previous game. So if you guys look on his cloak that he has, he wears like a black cloak, and there's a design on it. Now, there's no direct correlation to that design. There's no other use of that design in any other Zelda games, but it does look pretty similar to the shield that he has in Majora's Mask, the shield that he starts with, the symbol on it. So I mean, they're not they're not direct correlations, they're not direct direct translations of those symbols and stuff, but they do look similar. And it could be a thing of just art style and stuff like that that does that. So those are like two different connections that can place it to Twilight Princess and place it to Majora's Mask. And I'll get to as to why he has those items and how he got them and stuff like that. But if you guys remember in the Game Awards trailer, we did see in the background there's like a bridge in the background, and that bridge kind of looks pretty similar to the Bridge of Hylia in Twilight Princess, except in Twilight Princess the bridge is destroyed. So obviously, if this was the bridge, it would obviously have to have been built recently, within the past few years, or had started to being built in Ocarina of Time, or in that time frame. So it kind of makes you ask the question, like, where is it placed? And I think it takes place right after Majora's Mask, probably about, I don't know, 10 years maybe. This is probably going to be an older Link, in my opinion. And if you guys remember at the end of Majora's Mask, basically Link, he gets back to Hyrule, and he's back on Epona, and he goes to explore the rest of Hyrule. He goes to explore the rest of the land. And this is where another theory kind of comes into play. And I'll leave all the links to the theory videos that I watch in the description, so you guys can go check them out and see for yourself and see what you think about it. But that theory video actually basically theorized that the map for Zelda Wii U is a combination of 3 different world maps from 3 different other games. Ocarina of Time's map, Twilight Princess, as well as the original Legend of Zelda, all combined into one map. And you know, the fact that at the end of Majora's Mask, Link wants to go out and look for Navi and, you know, explore the rest of Hyrule, and the fact that the map is so big, it would make sense as to how he starts from, you know, Ocarina of Time's map and he goes and explores the rest of the world. So these different cues and these different, you know, nods to older Zelda games kind of made me think, you know, what if they want to, you know, bring back that Link? Because I feel like that Link is the most iconic Link. Like, when you think of Link, you think of Ocarina of Time Link, you think of Majora's Mask Link, right? So, to tie it with those games and then to tie it with Twilight Princess, another popular Zelda game, I think that's them trying to you know, bring some of the older Zelda fans back into the fold and, you know, give them a nod, you know, to the older fans. But, I don't know, Belak, do you think that sounds like a good theory?
Yeah, it does. It does. My theory kind of differs a lot from what Stewie's theory is, because Stewie's theory takes place obviously after a couple games, after Skyward Sword, I believe Minish Cap, and where I see this game taking place is, I don't want to give a certain amount of years or anything like that, but I think this game is going to take place somewhere between Skyward Sword and what comes after Skyward Sword, Minish Cap, I think it is. Yep. So yeah, I think that this game's going to take place right after Skyward Sword. I think it's going to be kind of like a sequel type thing. And the reason why I believe this is because I know there's not a lot of information to go off of. There's no, you know, we saw a little bit of the map or whatever, we saw a little bit of the landscape, but there's nothing really that much to go off of. And I feel like that's kind of a hint to the fact that this whole world is just going to be completely and utterly just super expansive. Like, there's not going to be any sort of like huge civilizations or anything like that. I believe that this game's going to take place after Link defeats Demise, and Link and Zelda at the end of Skyward Sword obviously come down to the land that they were taken from, and they start to re-civilize, or, you know, make a society, establish themselves again. And I think, like I said, I don't know how many years this is going to take place after. It could be like, you know, a one generation after. Maybe this Link is directly in correlation with the Link and Zelda from Skyward Sword. Maybe it's their kid, grandson, I don't know. But I definitely think that this Link has some like a big role in terms of being connected to the heroes in Skyward Sword. Now, if we take a look at Link, right? His shield, once again, a lot of the information and a lot of the you know, ideas I've gotten are from other videos, just as Stewie has, and I want to kind of take a look at like Link when he was first announced, like when he was riding in the fields, and then this big monster comes, well, this big mechanical thing just starts coming and chasing him, right? So he's riding on his horse, boom, jumps off the horse, and he just shoots this like arrow, that just a high-tech arrow. And we know in Skyward Sword that there was a very big advanced, like, I don't know, like this, like there was like, you remember the time shift stones and stuff like that, all that advanced technology. So maybe when Link and Zelda came down after Skyward Sword, you know, they started harnessing this technology because Link was familiar with it. He was using it in his adventure. So maybe they were, you know, sort of using it and using it to their benefit and stuff like that. And, you know, making weapons and stuff like that. Another point that was made on the arrow is when you use a time shift stone, things just stop in time, right? So maybe when he uses the arrow, he just stops in time and shoots it, and everything else around him is stuck, and he just is able to, like, you know, plan out a shot and shoot it. This is seen when he's riding on the horse and he jumps off, shoots his arrow. It's kind of like in the pause. That could also just be a, you know, a mechanic in order for it to look like a really cool you know, action, but it can also be some sort of item. You know, we know we have fire arrows, ice arrows, light arrows. Maybe there's some kind of like time shift arrow. You know, it's pretty cool. Now, if we look at like what he's wearing the robe, as you mentioned, that like hood thing. Now, I think that Link is somewhat tied, like I said, to Link and Zelda, which means that they, have some sort of ties to the Sheikah, right? And we know the Sheikah always want to, be covered and stuff. They always want to be like the mysterious, right? So maybe he's like kind of connected to them in that sense, where he's learning from the Sheikah. He's like part of that kind of, thing. I'm just like completely just going off the top here, but maybe he's like in some way tied to that sort of thing. And if we look at his shield as well, you mentioned that his shield was kind of like the hero shade, right?
Yep.
Now, I took a look at the shield and I thought that as well. But if you look at the shield, somebody pointed this out on one of the videos that Stewie will leave in the description. His shield kind of looks like an eyeball. If you look at it at a certain angle, it looks like an eyeball, and it kind of looks like the Sheikah eye. So that kind of further makes me believe that Link might be tied to the Sheikah, and who knows? Like, there's been a lot of talk about the Sheikah and where they're from and all this sort of stuff. Maybe when Link and Zelda come down at the end of Skyward Sword, the Sheikah have some sort of truce or whatnot, and then something happens and they break up, and maybe this Link is kind of like the link between both worlds type thing, I don't know, I'm just completely going off the top again. But yeah, and also we do see he has the sailcloth, which was seen in Skyward Sword and only seen in Skyward Sword. It's not the only mechanism of floating. We see the Deku Leaf in Wind Waker, but that's pretty much the only game we see that sort of thing in. Also the what's it called, the what's that cape called in Minish Cap? What's it called again? I forget what it's called, but it's some kind of I forget what it's called, but yeah,
I forget too.
It's pretty cool because it's the only thing that we've seen that it's directly directed to Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
So all this sort of stuff. The main thing is that I think that this land is completely untouched, and Link has to basically go around and do whatever he needs to do, or I don't know. But I think that this game definitely takes place after Skyward Sword or somewhere in that general area.
I think there's one thing that actually goes true to both theories, that the world that we're going to be exploring in this game is going to be expansive and relatively untouched, because I feel like the timeline between Skyward Sword and Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time isn't, I don't know if it would be a long enough time for a world of that size to actually be inhabited, like fully inhabited. So yeah. I feel like there's definitely going to be a lot of places to explore and a lot of places to, go find ancient civilizations. And, if it is the case that it does take place after Skyward Sword, we're probably going to be finding, these ancient, dungeons and ancient shrines and stuff like that from when, the humans did live there before. But there's one thing that I actually forgot to mention beforehand, and it was actually said in an interview with Eiji Anuba, the producer of the series. He had mentioned that the Happy Mask Salesman might be making a return in Zelda Wii U. Now, we haven't really seen the Happy Mask Salesman in any other game than Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, so I feel like that's a direct connection, as a character to those games and to that world, and saying that, okay, he's going to be in this game, so he obviously came back with Link, and, he went and explored, or whatever happens with that character in that game. So I feel like if he's in Zelda Wii U, he's gonna play, kind of a big part like he did in Majora's Mask in that game. Now, as far as the ideas of what could happen to pose a threat to Hyrule at that point, because we really don't know, because if it is in the trial timeline, Ganondorf is obviously gonna get sealed away in the Twilight Realm. So I don't know if it'll be him. It can't be him that is the villain. It can't be, him posing the threat. So as far as a villain goes, and as far as a whole story of what would cause Link to have to save Hyrule, I really don't know. But I feel like there are a lot of possibilities that they could go with. And if it is after Skyward Sword, they can also do a lot of different things as well. Maybe with Vati or something like that. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Vati really doesn't play a part, because Vati was just the guy was just controlled by the hat. So maybe we'll see something in terms of Ezla,
the hat, there's also another connection that could be made, is the Dark Interlopers. Could be a possibility as to a villain in Zelda Wii U, because I don't know, because there's a lot of different, tales of, the civil war that happened between, all the races in Hyrule and stuff like that. So we could potentially see some of that in this game.
I see a lot of people always talking about the Dark Interlopers.
Yeah.
Were they ever confirmed by Nintendo that they're actually a thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, they mentioned them in Twilight Princess.
Yeah, they mentioned them in Sky.
I think there is mention of them in Hyrule Historia. If correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but
I've always find they're like I find it's just a a thing that the fans kind of just assume.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of
a name they gave.
No,
thing.
I think no. Actually, I think they are directly called the Dark Interlopers in Twilight Princess, if I remember correctly.
I don't know if I don't know.
As far as their origins and who they are, we don't really know. So maybe this game is kind of like gonna be that. Maybe we'll see that civil war that happens, or the remnants of the civil war, because I believe the civil war actually takes place before Ocarina of Time, and which caused Link as a baby to be sent to the Kokiri Forest. So. Which, there's another thing that gets tied to Kokiri Forest, because we don't really see them in Twilight Princess at all. We don't see the Kokiri race at all. So maybe we can go back in Zelda Wii U and see them, or see what happened to them, or find out what happened to them. But there's definitely a lot of unknowns. I think we know less about this game than we ever have about any other Zelda game. Like, they're really hush about this game. And we can really go off of what they give us, like in the trailers and stuff.
We kind of saw what happened to the Kokiri in Wind Waker.
Yeah, we get to see what happens to them. They became that.
But in terms of like where they are in Twilight Princess,
we don't know. Yeah. Like the forest, the Faron province is basically taken over by monsters and stuff, and they're nowhere to be found. But there are cues in Twilight Princess to Majora's Mask, right, with the Skull Kid and stuff like that, and Ocarina of Time. So if it does take place in between Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, I still think there's a strong case that it can be that same Link and be a continuation of his story, because the Hero Shade, he said that he lived on with his regret, and maybe we'll get to see what his regret was of not being able to accomplish something or whatever. Maybe there's a character or something that dies, or something like that could happen in Zelda Wii U. And would help his spirit, help the Hero Shade make sense, and as to why his spirit manifested that way. Because if you guys don't know, that the Twilight Princess Link is a direct descendant of Ocarina of Time Link, so it also helped to connect those two links a little bit more.
The only problem that I have with your theory in terms of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask being directly associated with this Zelda Wii U game is what land, like, I know we don't have like all this sort of information, like the world wasn't fully developed or anything like that, but I feel like if they were gonna show a world in the trailers and stuff like that, I think they would have made a little bit of a closer association with like a particular game. Like, they just kind of showed like an expansive world. Like, I don't see how Link could explore Hyrule of that magnitude without seeing landmarks every so often. There's like no people around or no towns or anything.
Yeah, like basically that, like in the theory video, I don't know if you had watched it or not, but basically they had they went and looked in the because in the Game Awards trailer, they actually went and showed the map a little bit, and they zoomed out, and you're able to see parts of the world. And in that theory video, they actually went in and theorized that, okay, this is Lake Hylia, this is potentially where Death Mountain is and stuff like that. So they said based on that, they were able to piece other locations like Snow Peak and different locations in Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, and even the original Legend of Zelda into the map. So I mean, it's not really, it's plausible, but it's hard to say, because we really don't know. And we really don't have any other context than that. So it's basically like we're making up a bunch of what if scenarios here, I guess you could say.
Because I mean, like, it's cool to speculate about this game, but I feel like it's a little like I feel like it's a little like too early to make any sort of big assumptions, But it's obviously it's very fun to like think about where this game could possibly take place, because there's a lot of different situations.
They could do whatever, they could do anything with this. They can put it in any timeline. They can put it in the child timeline, the hero timeline. or the adult timeline, and then the Hero Fallen timeline. So, or even in the Skyward Sword unified part of the timeline.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you're right. It is a little bit too early to make these assumptions, and I feel like some of them can make sense. But you know how Zelda games are. Expect one thing and we totally get something else. So.
Yeah. And you got to think about the fact that Nintendo doesn't make Zelda games for the story, but they make it for the gameplay.
Yeah, and then they add story in like a second thought.
The story is just like kind of.
It kind of reminds me of when everybody was anticipating like Skyward Sword coming out. We're like, oh, we're gonna see the origins of the Sheikah, and it's gonna be, we're gonna see all these different or the origins of all these different tribes, and it really wasn't the case. So, all these
pretty much the origins of Hylians, basically.
Yeah, pretty much all these expectations that people have are probably there's probably something else that's gonna happen. So, I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. What do you guys think? Where is Zelda Wii U gonna be placed on the timeline? And do you think either one of our theories makes sense? Do you guys have anything to say against it or say for it? Let us know. Belak, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Nope. Just give your thoughts in the comment section below.
Yep.
And
yeah, make sure you go check out if you guys are interested in hearing where I got some of my ideas for the theories are. I'll leave all the links for the videos in the description below. Credits to M.Productions, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but he'll be in the description as well. And yeah, go check out Belak's Vibe, and that's it. So hope you guys enjoyed. Leave comments like we said. Subscribe if you haven't already for more Nintendo and other related videos. And yeah, peace.
Deuce.